that much about the Onera Nauticum. It's an international dream research group where on the same night, people all across the world try the same onarogen. And an onarogen, which is from onero, dream, and gen, to generate. An onarogen is anything that promotes vivid dreaming. It might be an herb or a scent, it might be a practice, whatever it is. So we've had this group going since 2008. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about today are things that we have discovered that really do work for dreaming. The idea of consciousness experimentation is hardwired into the human experience. I don't have to explain that to a group like this. Little kids roll down hills and spin around in circles. As adults, we do all sorts of things to play with our minds. I think it's inherently human. And yet there's this wonderful mode of playing with our minds, which is the dream, right? Something that we often ignore. So what I'm talking about today is dream tripping. I'm talking about a lot of different ways that you can play with the original altered state, endogic high, free, easy, cheap, legal, no hangovers, and super amazing. So this is the chart. Anybody who does any kind of dream research or sleep research is familiar with some version of this chart. I'm not going to talk about it too much. This is one of the ways I'm trying to make this a little shorter. I am going to point out that these are in EEGs, right? So hertz per second, right? If you're awake and really conscious, you're at like 13 to 30, so going pretty fast. And then if you're sort of relaxed awake, that's 8 to 13. That's at the top of our charts. Every 90 minutes or so, you wake up. That's a sleep cycle. The first phase, the first 2 sleep cycles are where you have deep sleep. That's the lowest, right? That's the 0.5 to 4, super low. And then in between that, we have the theta, which is what most of the sleep 2, which is what most of our sleep is. And it's the only one of the sleep phases that isn't dream rich. The rest of them have all sorts of extraordinary dreams. And you can really learn to work with dreams by learning to work with a lot of these different kinds, right? The green is REM. As Josie said, those are the kinds of dreams that people tend to remember. Fascinatingly enough, in REM, your EEG is the same as it is when you're awake. When you're in beta, just by looking at EEG, you actually can't tell if somebody is asleep and in REM or whether or not they're awake. Your brainwaves are doing the same thing. And then hypnagogia, as you're going in, and hypnopomnia, as you're going out. And I'm going to talk about those a bunch more when I get into that area. Why are people dreaming? Nobody really knows, but one of the ideas is it's taking short-term memory and turning it into long-term memory. In other words, forming your mind. In the womb, infants are asleep, and in REM, an incredibly high proportion of the time, like most of the time, babies are dreaming, right? So dreaming is actually forming your mind. And so learning to work with your dreams and learning to play with your mind through your dreams is actually going to help shape how you think and what's happening to you. So I'm going to talk about 3 ways of working with dreams. I'm going to talk about liminal dreaming, I'm going to talk about lucid dreaming, and I'm going to talk about onarogens. If I talk too fast, I kind of talk fast, then just do this. And I'll try to slow down. So first, let's talk about liminal dreaming. Liminal dreaming is the thing that happens during hypnagogia and during hypnopomnia. Hypnagogia is the way in, right? Hypnos, sleep, and gagia, leading into, right? Hypnopomnia is the way out, the opposite, right? Hypno, sleep, and pop, coming out of. What happens during hypnagogia and hypnopomnia, they're actually sort of the most unusual brainwave states. Most brain states are marked by consistent EEG. But during hypnagogia and hypnopomnia, your brainwaves are jumping all over the place. They're doing these big high thing, they jump around. It's very chaotic, basically. And when you're falling asleep and your body jerks, that's a myoclonic jerk. That's how you know that you're in hypnagogia. Your body's doing the same thing that your mind is doing. It's just kind of jerking around. And you have a lot of amazing visuals, auditory. It's actually some of the most dream-rich state that there is, both hypnagogia and hypnopomnia. If you're somebody who has a hard time remembering dreams, and these practices sound interesting to you, either because you don't sleep enough, if you don't sleep more than 6 hours, you probably don't start to get into this end phase when your REM gets a lot longer. It's basically once you've been asleep for 5 hours, your REM periods just get longer. The longer you sleep, the more time you spend in REM. But if you're someone who doesn't spend a lot of time sleeping, like a lot of us are in the modern world, if you're someone who wakes up to an alarm clock or an insistent cat or children or whatever it is, or if you're someone who has a really short circadian rhythm, you pop awake in the morning, you know, and you're up pretty fast, you probably are going to have a hard time. Or if you have a consistent relationship with THC. Friends of Mary Jane, REM dreams are not necessarily your friend, but hypnagogic dreams are. Hypnagogic dreams are extraordinary. In my opinion, hypnagogia is the most crazy, whirling, psychedelic experience that there is. And it's always there, right? You can fall down into a liminal dream very easily by napping, by sleeping in a car, sleeping somewhere where you're kind of uncomfortable. So liminal dreaming is kind of my primary practice and has been for the last few years. To talk a little bit about the quality of liminal dreams. Last night I actually had one of the most extraordinary nights of dreaming that I have ever had, which was amazing. And it was a very, very, very long liminal dream in which I was simultaneously very conscious of where I was. The feeling of the sheets, the sound of my spouse, maybe snoring a little bit, next to me, and I was also fully in a dream. So at one point, the feeling of the sheets on my face, I was completely aware that this is what it was, and yet it was also this kind of erotic experience I was having with my face being touched. I was going up a stairway, and an old stone stairway, and there's these Buddhas who were flitting across the stairway, and the smell of, I don't know if you know the smell of like burning garbage in the developing world, that really strong acrid smell, very powerful. So scent and sound, often very, very powerful during liminal dreams. And I was also quite awake and thinking, oh, is that actually something burning? Should I wake up? So liminal dreaming is a wonderful way to work with your dreams. It's been used by artists and thinkers for a very long time. A lot of the times that you hear of artists or thinkers doing amazing things in dreams, it's actually during a liminal dream, right? So Kekule figured out the benzene ring in a dream, right? That's just one example.